Hello, everyone. I'm here to talk about Palworld again. A little bit late tonight, but whatever. Man, the last couple of nights it feels like we haven't talked about any current events or anything. Like it feels like there hasn't been a whole lot going on. Right, that's been a problem when it comes to covering the gaming industry. Is that like for huge stretches of time, it just feels like there's not really all that much to talk about. Right, the way things look now, it seems as if people are trying to set up for like the to destroy Nintendo in the future, right? You know, they're trying to talk down about Pokemon. They're trying to talk down about all these other Nintendo games. They're trying to downplay all these products. They're trying to say that the Switch 2 is going to be a failure, right? I saw that analysts released some information on that today, some statements on that today. They're trying to push a narrative, but like nothing's really sticking. And I think Palworld, you know, the situation with that is a really, really strong indication of that, because that was a game in which everybody in the gaming industry, you know, gaming YouTubers, the Game Awards, you know, people like everywhere, you know, hyped this up as like the next big thing, right? For like a week or so, like Palworld was like the biggest thing on the planet, right? It was like gonna be the Pokemon killer. It was the biggest thing ever. It was gonna do all this. And like, here we are 2 weeks later, and yeah, it's been completely forgotten. You know, the Pokemon Company just teased Black and White 2, the Black and White remakes on a Nintendo Switch. And it was just like Zekrom shooting across the sky or something, and that was enough to get people talking about Pokemon again, right? And keep in mind, Black and White is like traditionally the worst selling Pokemon generation of all time. Which, first of all, I think indicates that like having higher sales doesn't necessarily mean that you're a better product, because I do think Black and White are better than you know, games that have sold more than it. Right? There are plenty of Pokemon gens that I think are that I think Black and White is better than. Like, it was my favorite generation for a long time. I think it still is. But like yeah, like when I see what people did with Palworld, right? When they did this thing, like, oh, it has 19 million players. Like, you just know it's a cope, right? Like, the instant they announced that figure, oh, we have 19 million players on Xbox and PC, like, you just know it's fake. You just know they're making it up at this point. And I suggested the possibility fairly early on that the hype was faked, it was AstroTurf. That was pretty obvious to me. But, like, now that it's been a couple of weeks in, like, it's very obviously the case, right? This was an AstroTurf project. You know, just like Hi-Fi Rush, just like Baldur's Gate 3, just like the Cyberpunk 2077 DLC, like, the people who are, like, religiously defending Palworld are just bots and shills. Oh, by the way, I forgot to monetize my stream. Shit. Every single time. Why is it not automatic? Like, why can I not just go live and just have it be... Okay. Every single time I forget to do that. Okay, there we go. So everyone was saying this was like going to be the biggest release of the year. This was like a game of the year contender. This was going to destroy Pokemon. And look where we are now. Like, yeah, straight up memory hold. Yeah, going to be memory hold. Like, we're there now, right? The fact that, like, YouTubers have to make up conspiracies about VTubers not being allowed to play the game to avoid upsetting Nintendo. Like, to me, that indicates that the Palworld thing collapsed, and like nobody's really talking about it anymore. And they have to keep drumming up like antagonism for the Pokemon community, because I don't think the Pokemon community was as harsh towards Palworld as they should have been. Right? People really should have been doing like deep dives into the models and the history of the company, and like, you know, doing deep dives on Japanese copyright law and like kind of exposing it. And like to a certain extent that did happen, but like it didn't feel like it was enough. Like, it feels like most Pokemon YouTubers were perfectly fine with allowing Palworld to exist, like out of some like concern for Pokemon's quality, right? That's the narrative that a lot of people put out there. So like, oh, Pokemon is bad, so we have to prop up every monster catching franchise there is, so Pokemon is better, right? That was kind of the narrative from the get-go. Like, I think to me that was the strongest indication that Palworld was never going to go anywhere, is that like you could not get any momentum on a Palworld video without mentioning Pokemon, without mentioning like the controversy, without mentioning like the plagiarized design. Even if you were like damage controlling for it, you had to bring it up. And that's what people were tuning in for. That's what people were watching. Like, they wanted to see the Pokemon Company take a massive L. And it's becoming more and more obvious that that simply isn't the case. Like, last night, I walked by, like, an entire basket of Pokemon merchandise. There were, like, Pikachus in there, like, Squirtles, Charmanders, like, all those things. And, like, it kind of crossed my mind that, like, you know, I bet this single plush of Pikachu makes more money than all of Palworld, right? Like, Pikachu as a mascot by itself, not even the whole Pokemon brand, because that just becomes laughable at this point. Pikachu as a mascot brings in more money than Palworld ever will, because you could slap him in merchandise, you could slap him in like anime and TV shows. Like I was watching that like a Pikachu parade the other day, tonight. It was in that video I uploaded today, like da 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 da. Like I was like watching that, and like that was really popular. Like, you can see just how many people were there, like watching the Pikachu's march. Just how like cute they are. Like, it's a popular character for a reason. Like, Pikachu is an interesting character, right? That really resonates with people and has become popular over the past 30 years. The fact that like Palworld like had to rip that off and try to like to keep itself relevant, I think that says a lot about the current state of Palworld. I think it says a lot about the audience. I think it says a lot about the gaming YouTuber community, because I think people really should have been more vocally opposed to this, right? We were legit seeing people defend outright plagiarism out of a sheer disdain for the Pokemon Company. It had nothing to do with Palworld itself, because most of these people don't play Palworld, but like, it had everything to do with this idea that like the Pokemon Company needs to be punished for existing. That was always their mindset towards it. Let's see. Oh, Justin, yeah, yeah. Don't bring up. Yeah, I wish he would leave me alone. The answer is no. By the way, it's never gonna happen. Hello, hello. That guy thinks I'm you. Yeah, yeah. That guy has some mental issues for sure. This is amusing. Yep. A Pokemon spinoff that plays like Astral Chain. Hell yeah. Like, I would not mind Pokemon spinoffs. I would not mind like variations on the idea. You know, just how well Legends Arceus did. You know, I would not mind a Legends Arceus sequel. I hope we get one. How cool would that be if we get one that goes back to the origins of like Unova or something? If that's going to be the gimmick now, is that like we get the remix and then we get the Legends spinoff to go with it. That'll be really cool. But like, yeah. Yeah, like the reality is that Palworld is never, ever, ever going to stand on its own, right? Pocket Pair is like living on borrowed time, I think, because nothing they make after this is going to catch on the same way. Because like 90% of the time, these kind of plagiarized products don't really take off because they're not as good as like the original source material, right? But like in this specific instance, like it seems like they had real backing, right? Like it seems like Xbox was enabling them to a certain extent. Like I find it interesting that a Japanese like developer had to partner with Xbox and PC to get a release. Like that's interesting to me. Like to me, it just screams that like they have no real credibility. Like apparently people weren't willing to pay for Palworld, right? That's like the story that's going around, that they couldn't find a publisher, which I think says a lot. Is that like anybody who would look at Palworld and just go like no, because they knew what would happen, right? Like again, this is becoming more and more blatant all the time. Just how Palworld ripped off the company. I'm always seeing like new Pal designs that are blatantly rip-offs of other Pokemon. Like you have like, you know, the Lucario looking one. You have that like that cow that's like shaped like Snorlax with this weird shaped head. Like that's at a different angle than Snorlax would be. Like, you know, you have the Labras looking thing. Like you're always seeing more and more things. And they're not always obvious because sometimes they like add new parts and they try to make it as subtle as possible. But like it's like wow, like these are Pokemon, right? Like this is Pokemon. And to me, like, I think if doing this isn't illegal in Japan, it should be. So I hope the Pokemon Company is able to like do something about it, but I don't know exactly what that would look like. And again, I don't think they really need to because Palworld has fallen off. Like it's hilarious. Like, did anyone else see this? Like on Niche Gamer and sites like that, where they were like talking about like, oh, Palworld has some clones on the App Store. Wow, these guys are legit complaining about of clones of Palworld on like app stores and stuff like that. Like that. That's how like insane they are. That they're gonna make fun of like cheap dime store knockoffs of Palworld on the App Store when that like when that's Palworld itself is a cheap knockoff carbon copy. Like it's really weird the double standard they have with that. Like Niche Gamer in general is a joke. Kotaku in Action is a joke. Like I'm so tired of these gaming journalists just like bending over backwards to complain about like anything Nintendo related. Like I actually just edited my top 10 most downplayed Nintendo games video. I think you'll be really surprised about what's on there, especially the number one entry. But like like it's weird looking back on the top last decade of Nintendo properties and seeing all these major games come out and just be like written off by certain groups of people. Like Legends Arceus didn't get the attention it deserved. Metroid Dread didn't get the attention it deserved. Like No More Heroes 3, Shin Megami Tensei 5, like even something like Dragon Quest Monsters 3, The Dark Prince. Like I just beat that this morning and I was like complaining about how the game was terrible, but I don't know. I'm definitely gonna buy the sequel, so it must not have been that bad. Like I think maybe like I wouldn't have it wouldn't have been so much of a grind if I like had known how to take advantage of monster synthesis because it felt like for a good long while that most of my monsters were just terrible, right? So I think that I needed to like do that thing more. I needed to like rebuild monsters. Like do that thing where you just fuse the same monster but get different abilities onto it, like better abilities onto it, and then just keep doing that over and over again until you can like get a better monster. Like I was so confused about what was a good monster and what was not because I was like I had this really sick metal dragon like fairly early on. It had like this insanely high defense stat. It like auto regenerated. It had like a magic regeneration too, I think. It was like unstoppable, but it was like a D rank monster. And like as I started getting into like the D's, C's, and B ranks for everything else, like I began thinking that I was gonna get outclassed at some point, but it never really did. And eventually I kind of gave up on it and fused it, and I never got anything as good again. Right? It was so frustrating that I got something so cool so early on and had to trade it in for like the stupidest reason. Like why could I not stick with the monsters that like I liked using, right? Like that was my thing with Dragon Quest Monsters is that like you're constantly trading them in. You're constantly like scouting more monsters. You're constantly synthesizing them, and yet like you never get much use out of them. Like it takes too much time to grind. Like I feel like you need to just get the good monsters to carry you through the game, and then just like keep a handful of others to keep synthesizing better ones, right? Like don't like do what I did and spend hours and hours grinding because that's not the way you're supposed to play the game. Like I felt like a complete pleb. I knew I must have been doing something wrong because it took me way too long to get through the game. It wasn't that long at all, but. And yeah, and we're getting a sequel apparently. Like the credits rolled and then it's like to be continued, and I'm just like. Really? We're getting a sequel to this? Really? Like, I really wonder how well it's going to do. Like, I don't know. I was kind of down on this game, honestly. Like, it had so many problems, and I'm just kind of like, definitely still buying the sequel, though. I love Dragon Quest. I love it. Has anyone else played it? Oh, damn. Yeah, ARMS is not on the list. Switch Sports is not on the list. Not because they don't deserve to be on it, but because they were, like, other games that were like much more prevalent, I think. Like Switch Sports, yeah. I don't think that like the downplaying for that really took off. Right? That's the thing with like downplaying games is that like if it doesn't actually impact like the legacy and like the way the games are viewed for the public, like it's not successful downplaying. Like one of the things I wanted to do with the downplay video is talk about games that like people legit will like argue are legit bad, right, will legit argue that they're like terrible games and that Nintendo should be ashamed for making them. I mean, to be fair, this happens with like every major Nintendo game. So like, yeah, ARMS is an example, Switch Sports is an example, but like, yeah, they aren't. Okay, maybe I shouldn't spoil my own video, but like, yeah, this happens all the time. It's becoming a real issue, and I hope this top 10 list really emphasizes the problems that we have. As Nintendo fans, addressing that our console is still getting a ton of support, right? Like, one of the things we saw with Palworld, right? One of the things they did, like, oh, how many other monster catching games are on Switch? Like, bro, like I just played Dragon Quest Monsters. I would probably have bought Yokai Watch if it came out. I bought like so many other games, like Shin Megami Tensei, right? There are so many games like Pokemon on Switch that like the idea that like Pokemon fans just reject everything that isn't stamped with a brand is just absurd. It makes no sense at all, right? It's just one of those things that like people threw out there to try and give themselves credibility. I wonder, like, is anybody talking about Palworld now? By the way, I noticed that like Tears of the Kingdom was trending last night. Is it still? Okay, maybe not anymore, but let's see. Palworld. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's that big of a deal, right? Like, I don't know. I feel like the flames are dying down a lot. Like I haven't like even on like 4chan, you don't see a lot of Palworld posts anymore. Um, let's see Palworld. Yeah, there's nothing there. Yeah, crickets. What did Palworld mean by this? Yeah, we're at the point now where people are like addressing like the problems and stuff like that. Palworld morning thread. The game is dead. Right? That is the issue. Yeah, the gameplay thread isn't taking off. Like they keep spamming the board, but nobody's talking about the game. Like unless you try and like bring Pokemon fans into it, nobody cares at all. Forget flavor of the month. It didn't even last 2 weeks. Yeah, that's crazy to think about. How quickly this thing burned out. Like we were told this was like the most popular game ever. Like when it first came out, like oh, and it sold 12 million units. It's bigger than Pokemon. And like 2 weeks later, like who even remembers it exists? Like that's the weird thing about this is that like it wasn't even like a flash in the pan. Like there was no flash. Like the pan is like sitting there completely empty. Like it's untouched. There is no blemish. Like it's perfectly clean. It is prepared for cooking. Like where was the flash? Like, again, people told me this was a big deal. People told me this was a phenomenon, and yet I haven't seen any evidence of it. Like, it has not happened. Okay, oof. Yeah, and it's crazy how many YouTubers, like, just went after this. Clownfish TV, I think, is the big example. Let's see. Are they still talking about it? Let's see. They made, like, 5 Palworld videos in, like, a couple of days. Yeah, they haven't talked about it in a while. Yeah, it's not getting them a ton of views, so... Yeah, it feels like, hang on, let me play... Hang on, let me play our relevant quote to this.
I have something to say. It's better to burn out than to fade away.
Yeah, okay. So that's probably going to be the cope. Is that like, it burned out really quickly because it was just so good, bro. I put 50 hours into it in the past 2 weeks. It's one of the best games I've ever played. I can't wait for the final release. That's probably going to be the cope. Like, that's the bad thing about this, is that, like, this theoretically could be another Baldur's Gate 3 situation where they just, like, end the early access period and give it a finalized release, and then people say that, like, oh, Palworld is back. It's better than ever. Like they're doing with multiverses now. Actually, this reminds me a lot of what happened with Multiverses, right? Very similar pattern here, where you have a game that's obviously a knockoff of a Nintendo property, in this case, Super Smash Bros. You have this obvious knockoff property that like people like Angry Joe are coming out saying, "Oh, I love Smash, but this is way better than Smash Bros." Like Joe doesn't play Smash Bros. Like they come out saying that like, "Oh, I love being Superman. I love being the Iron Giant. I love Velma." Putting basketball players in her in a police car. Like I love casual racism. Like that was legit the argument like for multiverses is that this is something that's going to compete with Smash Bros. This is going to be a huge deal. This is going to be like this big deal. Like this is one of the best games of the year. Angry Joe said, and what happened? They shut it down. They claimed it was an early access period. It wasn't, and the game has not resurfaced since. So like in theory, they could just bring it back whenever, and then it'll be celebrated to be returned. But like I think the fact that like nobody's really clamoring for Multiversus to return really says a lot about it. I think that's just insane to me that a game like had that kind of reception and yet like disappeared. You literally cannot play it right now. And people are like just memory holding it. That is insane to me. When was that? 2022? It was a while ago. Very similar overlap with Palworld, I think. Yeah. If people were really serious about moving on from Pokemon, then they would have picked up a different monster collection game long ago. Yeah, I agree. Like that's the thing is that they always do this thing where they're just like, "Oh, Pokemon, it used to be good, but it fell off and I lost interest." Like it's just the same thing over and over again. And you're kind of like anybody who actually plays the games knows that's not true, but it's like it's such a stereotype for these people. Is just how they're so adamant about the idea that like the turn-based RPG system is like outdated and that it needs to be changed. And like no actual fan wants that. So it's a weird thing. I'm not surprised the gaming community is okay with plagiarism. They defend piracy as game preservation. No, like you'll see these people like rage on at Nintendo for like alleged plagiarism, right? Uh, like how many people seriously believe that Nintendo ripped off like another Metroid 2 remake for their remake of Metroid 2, right? Like that was a legit thing. Like I saw people suggesting that the bubble power up from Mario Wonder was ripped off from like a Mario World ROM hack. Like I've seen people speculate that, but it's obviously not true. Pokemon destroyed Palworld with one tweet. Yeah, we talked about that. How like it wasn't even an announcement. It was just like Zekrom like shooting across the sky. Like that alone killed Palworld. That was hilarious. That was amazing. I think Clownfish just went back to complaining about Disney products again. That's all they do. Like this is why Clownfish TV like is like I think the absolute worst anti like woke grifters I'm aware of. They will not shut up about like their things, right? They keep talking about the He-Man thing, and they keep talking about Disney. Like they just keep milking everything dry. It's like worse than a. It's terrible. Like it's really bad. At least with Raging Golden Eagle, like 90% of the time, he hides like his autism behind like 3 hour long live streams. So you don't necessarily know like how often he complains about censorship and endorses lolicons and like his MGTOW values, right? Like you don't know. He has the common sense to not talk about that in like actual short form videos because if you could do that, like more people would make fun of him, right? Because like what he believes is completely retarded, right? Um, yeah, but like yeah, Clownfish is like the absolute worst I've seen. I cannot stand them. I've seen a lot of anti woke grifters, but like I legit think they might be the absolute worst. Like there has been nobody I've seen that has like annoyed me as much as like those guys. Like they really piss me off. Like I think they might legit be like I don't want to call them like chameleons, but like I do think um I can't imagine they're actually like conservative. It just doesn't make sense to me with how they act and stuff like that. It just I don't know. I get like really terrible vibes from them, like really awful. But we'll see. Palworld had a shorter lifespan than Multiverses. It did, like 2 weeks versus like a year, right? Like Multiverses was being shilled for a long time before they dropped it, but Palworld has been around for a while. Palworld was stopped being relevant after the first 2 weeks. Like, ha! It stopped The Last of Us Part Two from being promoted. That is interesting. I mean, here's the thing about The Last of Us. Um, People have been trying for the past couple of years to gaslight us into thinking the game is secretly good. But I think all that's resulting in is that like people are starting to see through like the kind of person who defends those kind of games, right? The same kind of people are defending Suicide Squad right now. You know, I know Tara Strong came out in defense of it. Like, who cares what a voice actor thinks, really, right? Um, but like, yeah, it's not just her. There are a lot of people in that sphere like damage controlling Suicide Squad because it's such a big project for them. Like, this is going to be the end of Rocksteady and the Arkham verse, and might actually end like WB as a studio because people aren't going to trust them after this, right? This might be like the the point where people start like actually seeing them as a toxic publisher. And I think you should, right? Like, it's kind of crazy. Like, I was shocked at how much I loved like WB like 10 years ago when they were putting out like Mortal Kombat and Injustice like that, like stuff like that. Like, they weren't the best games ever, but like you could have fun with them and they weren't like terrible, right? Like, you know, I liked Injustice. That was the game that like got me interested in like DC lineup, like the extended universe, right? Like, oh yeah, these characters actually have lore. They actually have personality. Like, it's actually cool seeing them have their do their thing in a video game, right? Like, it was different, right, for me at the time. And of course, I've grown to hate them since. You know, I wrote Rumble. If you don't know what that's like, I wrote King of the Pirates. Like, I wrote some of the most anti DC propaganda ever. But like, yeah, in general, it's like yeah, like I liked Injustice, right? I liked what they were doing. Like it seemed like they were making high quality products based on their brands. But like that, ever since like Mortal Kombat 10, it feels like it's been like a major step downward, right? You know, the games have been getting worse, and they've been shoving in microtransactions everywhere, right? It's legit killed all the momentum that their brands had, right? Like, it's so crazy to me that they actually thought Suicide Squad was a good idea. You know, instead of expanding on the Arkhamverse, you know, giving us like a Superman game, which I think is what they should have done. Like, instead of like just doing the obvious and like focusing more on like these established DC heroes, like they gave us this like list of D-list characters, like this squad of D-list characters, right? Can we all acknowledge that like Harley Quinn is D-list? Because like the character just 100% does not work without the Joker, right? Let's be real here. Harley Quinn is not relevant without the Joker, right? Like, she is not relevant outside the Batman the Animated Series. Like, she's not relevant like outside of the role she was designed for, right? Stop trying to shove her into everything. It's just, it makes no sense. It's absurd, and yet they keep doing it. Like, I don't know. Like, I get that like she's the only popular character they've created since the 90s. Like, I guess she's DC's equivalent to like Venom or whatever, but like damn, like, you know, you can't separate Venom from Spider-Man, right? So why separate Harley Quinn from the Joker, right? Like, why not like double down on that dynamic? Why not make it interesting? Why not explore it in different perspectives? Why not like do more storylines? Like, 90% of these storylines seem to be like, oh, Harley Quinn has enough of the Joker and she breaks up with him because he's abusive. Yeah, we saw what happened when she did that in the animated series, right? Like, it doesn't work. Like, that's how it should work. Is that like she's nothing without him, right? Well, she believes she's nothing without him, right? Like, it's the entire reason she became like who she is, right? Is the Joker thing. It's so bizarre to me that they keep doing this thing where they keep trying to force this character into the limelight where she really doesn't belong. Like literally to the point where she's like killing Batman himself. Right? Actually, I haven't actually watched that scene. I guess we could do that now. Live reaction. Harley Quinn kills Batman. Like keep in mind this is a bit character that was created for a cartoon. Harley Quinn. Yeah, like it's like her killing Batman and her giving Batman therapy. Like it's like you can tell like okay, Harley Quinn kills Batman. Hang on, wait, where's the actual clip? I'm not watching 10 minutes of this footage. Harley Quinn kills Batman. I just want like a 30-second clip. I don't want like a 10-minute clip. Okay. Give us okay, fuck you. We're gonna watch a short. Under 4 minutes. Yeah, fuck you. Injustice 2 cinematic? Oh, come on. Okay. Where the hell is it? Are they hiding it? Like, this should be what everyone... Harley Quinn quits Batman. Suicide Squad. Okay, let's see here. I guess we'll just skip to the end. Wait, what? Huh? This is the thing everyone was talking about. I don't see... Okay, here we go.
Animals, dependent on someone else to survive. Like you, Harkness. An illiterate alcoholic who's desperate for the spotlight.
And Floyd's a deadbeat dad. Sharky's a freak who'll never be a real boy, and I'm... What was it? Oh, yeah. I never was too bright. Get some new material, jerk off. You know, Joker used to be real good at hurting people with words.
Didn't he say that? Harley Quinn never was too bright? Like, to himself during, like, the first Arkham game? Like, how exactly did she know he said... Like, it doesn't make any sense. Wait.
You know, Joker used to be real good at hurting people with words. But you... Well, even when you're evil, you're still too good. You had a good run, Brucey. Flying around Gotham, punching bad guys, cleaning up the streets, causing long-term mental and emotional damage to everyone you knew. It's our turn now. After all we've been through. Oh, bet you didn't think it'd be me at the end, huh?
This is hilarious because it legit sounds like she's giving a legit villain monologue. It's like they wrote it like she is the antagonist. Wow, like someone told me that, and I wasn't sure if that was true. Like, this is legit a villain monologue. Holy shit, that's hilarious.
Are we done with your bad stand-up routine?
Almost. But you always gotta end on your best joke. Time for us bad guys to save the world.
Hell of a bat signal. Huh. What's up?
That's got the last laugh after all. Oh, he would have wanted this. The real Batman, I mean. Remember?
This is the last time Kevin voiced Batman, and it's an utter disgrace to the Batman name. Yeah, everyone's been saying, like, they confirmed that was true, but I suppose WB is, like, upset about it, so they're, like, trying to backtrack on that. Oh, no, he actually recorded other material. Like, fake. Like, that is 100% not true. They're only... This is canonically the official end of Kevin Conroy's Batman. That is hilarious. Like, it almost seems like it was completely intentional. Like, did they kill him so they could do this? Like, even people who liked Arkham Knight think this is bullshit. Wow. Wow. I mean, what were you expecting? Like, I'm the kind of person who's like really critical of the Arkham games in general, so I'm not super invested in them. Like again, wow, superhero material is trashy. Who would have thought? But yeah, that is I don't know, man. Maybe you should stop supporting the brand. Maybe you should stop worshiping these companies and play a better video game. How about something like the Wonderful 101, right? Wonder Red is a way better superhero than Batman will ever be. But yeah, yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. Let's see here. But yeah, Harley Quinn is not capable of headlining a video game, right? That was never gonna work. Like, she's not capable of headlining a movie. Like, just compare like the reception to like the Joker movie versus like the Suicide Squad one. Like, which one was more popular? I don't even think I need to look it up. Like it's like nobody cares about Harley Quinn outside of the Joker. Again, she's never gonna be a thing. Mm. Yeah, I haven't been on for a full hour yet, but like it's pretty late now. I probably should stop. Uh, hmm. Is there anything else? Oh yeah, the Nintendo Direct is probably going to be. I want to say it might be as early as this week. Yeah, it might be this week. Yeah, so I'm predicting a new Donkey Kong Country. I'm predicting like what were my fake leaks saying? Like most of that came true. Most of that came true. It'll be interesting seeing the seeing Donkey Kong Country. Assuming it does get made, they announce it. I'm definitely interested in seeing what they do with this, with this direct, because this is going to be a game changer. I think. First of all, I think it's going to be really hard to downplay the Switch like after this year, because like people legit got it in their heads that like Tears of the Kingdom would be the final Switch game, and that narrative hasn't really died yet. So I think another big direct, like showcasing a bunch of like newer games up till like the end of this year, is really going to do a lot for the Switch. Like it's really going to dispel all notions that like the Switch is on the verge of being replaced. So I'm really looking forward to that. But like from an actual like practical what I actually want to see, yeah, like Donkey Kong Country is at the top of the list for sure. Um, but I'd also like to see a Fire Emblem remake. I'd like to see a lot of things, for sure, for sure. What are some new speculations? Like, what's the what are people expecting to see? Let's see. I can't wait for the Nintendo Direct to be announced in 12 minutes. Okay. Yes, everybody's anticipating the Direct. Yeah, it's 100% happening in the next week or so. Like, considering, like, the timing of Side Order and Mario vs. DK, yeah, I think it's going to be next week. Like, the week after that at the absolute latest. Okay. It was supposed to be Rocksteady's... Yeah, I'm curious if anybody is going to be able to... Yeah, yeah. Suicide Squad's a really interesting game to me because, like, it really showcases where things are going. Like, the public has rejected gas. They rejected wokeness. They've rejected like this is everything that like modern audiences hate, and like the results of that are really showcasing themselves a lot in the pre-release material and like the reception, like other than like the Steam reviews, which are positive. Like, this game is like universally hated, I think. Let's see. Suicide Squad. Yeah, 62 on Metacritic. Wow. Wait, is that higher than Star Fox Zero? No, yeah, it is lower, isn't it? Yeah, Star Fox Zero has a 69. Has it gotten higher? I swear it was like a 68. I swear it used to be yellow. But no, it's okay. Yeah, it's 62. Yeah, everything is just mixed. The game isn't as bad as people make it out. Yes, it's a looter shooter. Does that mean it's bad? No, but it's not a 10. The game itself is good. Look at this run-on sentence. Story is interesting with mission that will actually have you questioning what you are doing. And is it good for the good of the people of because you all have your personal vendetta against these heroes. Spelled incorrectly. The gameplay for me is where the game shines though. THO. This type of traversal is something new to a Rocksteady game, and personally, I think they've done a good job, not great, but good with it being a live service. This is the average Suicide Squad review. Unbelievable. From Scott89. Well, Scott's a dipshit. Let's see. Under all those daily rewards, weapons with numerical percentages, and seasons full of promises, there's a Rocksteady game that's genuinely funny and a blast to play. A game that's much better than we were expecting, but also a game that deserved much, much more. Okay, what a shill. Like, really? Funny? A blast to play? Really? Yeah, user score is leaning more towards... Okay, so, like, critics are doing the mediocre thing, and user scores are, like, overwhelmingly negative. Like, I think there are, like, a handful of let's look at the positive user scores, because I'm sure they're shill posts. The game does not have any bugs, has an amazing POS game, and puts a lot of old loot shooting games looking bad. Don't give attention to hate. Watch the gameplay and judge for yourself. Like, I did! That's why I'm complaining about this on a live show. Couldn't play more than 5 hours. This game is just bad. This is DC. This is the Suicide Squad. This is not supposed to be colorful Disneyland. And now I can't even get a refund anymore. That's right. They should have gotten refunds, aren't they? Yeah, crazy. Yeah, like, again, this seems like this year's Forspoken, right? Like, it has that same kind of energy to it where, like, everyone hates it, but, like, this was supposed to be a big deal for the company. This was supposed to be the game that, like, ushered in the Rocksteady's big new project. This was supposed to be a big deal, and it just isn't. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I probably should end the live stream and go to bed. Yeah. I really kind of regret eating because I'm kind of worried I overate and then I'll gain a little bit of weight. We'll see. I lost weight today, so like I don't know. Maybe I should have just gone hungry. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I think we're done. What did Palworld mean by this? Oh, it's that thing that's obviously a... Yeah, it's Salazzle, but with like a heart shape on its chest. and like thicker thighs. Okay, it's that thing. Oh, I suppose I could leave off on something. Uh, yeah. So one of the things that's become obvious with Palworld, and I think a lot of people, other people, are noticing this too. The numbers that they're releasing are not realistic, right? There is no way the game has 19 million players, right? It just isn't that popular. It didn't sell as much as they said it sold. The player count doesn't make any sense. Like it's all fake. Is my point. And what that seems to imply is that like Steam is not as popular as a service as the fanboys make want you to believe, right? So I do think going forward, that's going to be a legit thing for me going forward. Is that like I no longer want to hear about the most played games on Steam. I don't want to hear about the best selling games on Steam because it's been demonstrated over and over and over again that the numbers are fake. They don't make any sense. They're all over the place. We're constantly seeing them set new records now, even for like out of nowhere projects like this, right? Like it doesn't make any sense for Palworld to come out of nowhere and like outdo like I don't know, like even Baldur's Gate 3, which was also AstroTurf. Like I don't like it's all these fake games that are being like AstroTurf like against each other. Like they're competing against other AstroTurf games. But none of them are as popular as they want you to think they are, right? It's all just a gaslighting thing. It's all just to keep make you think Steam is relevant, and it just isn't true. Yeah, I gotta get that too. 4 more days of work. Oh yeah. I gotta get to bed, so. Did you see the Dots Esports article on Suicide Squad? While there's a positive rating on Steam user reviews, all-time peak so far is... Wow, really? Yeah, I did notice the Steam thing. Yeah, I was talking about that a lot. But yeah, like... Yeah, it'll be interesting seeing this game get wrecked by the community over the next year or so, because I do think this is one of the year's biggest blunders. Like I think this is going to go down as like one of the worst games of 2024 for sure. Like Suicide Squad seems like a complete disaster. But yeah, until next time, I'll see you all next time.